Turn to our top story now. Accolades for slain Gauteng Health Department Executive Babita Deokaran, both from her funeral in Phoenix in Durban today, but also this evening, visuals coming through of a candlelight service being held in Newtown. And these are live visuals that are coming through now. A very moving and poignant moment, those lit candles and that quiet moment to remember a truly astonishing woman. She was, of course, gunned down outside her Mondior home on Monday. Hailed today as a whistleblower on corrupt contracts in Gauteng Health, she provided testimony to the Special Investigating Unit probing PPE procurement irregularities. But writing in the Business Day newspaper today, the CEO of non-profit organisation Freedom Under Law, Nicole Fritz, makes the point that Deokaran was often isolated and vilified by her colleagues for flagging those suspect deals. And Ms. Fritz joins me now. Good evening. You know, as we look at these visuals, you can see it's heartfelt. You can see that people are heartbroken that this extraordinary woman has been gunned down. But you make the point that while she was alive, she was vilified and she was isolated. She was even suspended at times for what she was trying to do. Tell us more about that.
Well, that's exactly it. She will be hailed in death, but it's certainly not enough. She should have received recognition in her lifetime, and instead, what she did for trying to perform her job conscientiously and ethically in an exemplary manner was just to receive the requirement to struggle. She had to fight for job security. She had to fight off these spurious misconduct charges, fight off intimidation and harassment. Last year, while the procurement of PPE was taking place, she and a number of her colleagues were suspended. These ridiculous charges were leveled against them. They were never pursued. They were dropped. As she, in her own words, said, these were messaging she shared with Nishan Bolton, the head of the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation, sometime last year. She said, you know, that if there had been any merit to those charges, they would have been pursued. They never were. And that once some of the orders had been made and some of the payments were made, she and her colleagues who were essential to the functioning of the financial department in the Gauteng Department of Health were brought back. And it is tragic that this is what her exemplary and conscientious service earned her in her lifetime. But sadly, too, I think it is too often the fate of so many of our most conscientious public servants is that they just get vilified.
Yeah, absolutely. And we look at that candlelight vigil brought to us by our camera person Tosoni this evening. And it is something for us to really reflect on, because that's not the exception. It seems to be almost the rule when people try and blow the whistle. And the message from her family this afternoon very much was, we've got to do more to protect our whistleblowers. But what exactly do you think needs to be done?
You know, I think that the fact that, you know, she was intimidated and harassed, she wasn't receiving protection. I think the fact that she was a witness for the Special Investigating Unit in respect of this, you know, enormous procurement scandal, that the risks to her life were not apprehended, that sufficient safeguards were not provided for her. I think, you know, all of that, I think, raises questions as to why she wasn't given the protection. I think that, you know, many of the most senior officials in the health department knew of her predicament. Why were they not providing her with that type of protection? So I think, you know, those are some of the specific questions that need to be asked in respect of her situation. But as you say, it is unimaginable that a single mother, you know, left her house on Monday morning to drop her daughter off at school. And this Thursday evening, I've just returned from the candlelight vigil, and her cremation is happening in Phoenix. And you know, I think it is so terribly heart-wrenching to think not only of the tragedy to this family, but to the message it sends to those in our society who would perform their jobs in an exemplary and conscientious manner, that this is the fate that might befall them. So, you know, the highest authorities in government absolutely have to provide protection to those who are providing service for all of us.
And you're right, saying that state capture in many ways gave us a role of shame, but we actually need to cultivate a role of honor, and Babita Deokaran would absolutely be on that role of honor. You've just mentioned that an assassination like this, yes, we don't know for sure that it was linked to the PPE, but it was certainly a hit. That will put people off. How do we start to create exemplary public servants who will be that brave? Because it's a big ask. I'm not sure I'd be able to be that brave.
No, exactly. I do think one of the things that we need to do, and I hope, I mean, obviously we have the Zondo Commission, and that is coming to a conclusion, and there will be a report, and there will be the naming of those who have been responsible for so much of the corruption and the state capture, and hopefully there will be accountability mechanisms that then happen, prosecutions that follow, and that those who are responsible shall have to do their time. But I think also there has to be more of a culture of celebration, of holding out and honoring those who actually do populate that list of honor, who did so much to ensure that the situation in our country was not more dire, that there wasn't more hollowing out of the state. So I think it really is about sort of looking to preserve their memories, identifying them, and honoring them in any way that we can.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for chatting to us this evening. That is the CEO of the not-for-profit organisation Freedom Under Law, Nicole Fritz, commenting on the murder this week of Babita Deokaran.